presents the inaugural game of Major League Soccer. A record sellout crowd of 32,000 here at Spartan Stadium in San Jose, California, to witness the first regular season game of the brand new league. Fireworks are capping off today's festive opening ceremonies, the crowd settling in. The stars have arrived to realize the dream for a new beginning in American soccer.
April 6, 1996 was the first game of Major League Soccer between the San Jose Clash facing off against DC United for the first MLS game ever. There were 36,000 people in attendance, and San Jose beat DC United 1-0 to secure the first win in MLS history. DC United went on to win the first season of the MLS Cup, and since then the league has grown from its 10 original teams to the 23 it holds today. These teams are split into a Western and Eastern Conference, playing 34 a season with each other. More teams are added every year, with the addition of FC Cincinnati in 2019 and the future additions of Nashville and Miami in 2020. The question is, what is making this growth of MLS so prominent, and how can this growth continue? One thing that can bring attention to MLS teams are the players from outside countries and leagues, especially in Europe. There are many Europeans who come to America to either build a name for themselves as emerging talents or end their career with the high salaries that MLS teams are willing to offer. These are the players that build the popularity of a team and cause more fans to go to the games. MLS players like David Beckham, Wayne Rooney, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic can be seen to skyrocket the attendance of fans of these games.
First started out, you saw the likes of Beckham and some of the other big names coming over at the end of their career to kind of help boost the rate, and I think it did have a jump. But I think now you're even seeing more talented young guys come over, not even from Europe but South America. I mean, you look at Atlanta United's team; we have a lot of guys coming over that are in their prime. Even somebody like Giovinco, who plays for Toronto. He's not old. I think he's 20, something like that. He's young. But he, he's in his prime. Came from Juventus and was playing in Italy, Serie A. So I think now that those guys are coming over, it's even boosting the popularity even more.
David Beckham was the first of several European players in the MLS. He started in England with Manchester United and then played for Real Madrid before moving to LA Galaxy. He not only built the team, but he also built a brand around himself. Playing there for 5 years and winning multiple titles with the team, he created a legacy of himself in the MLS. He played 98 games and scored 18 goals from the midfield position. The average attendance in 2006 was 2,800, which changed later as David Beckham was added in 2007, where the attendance increased by 1,000 fans. This shows the impact a big-name player has on the attendance of a game, as he left the team in 2012 winning multiple trophies and being a huge part of the growth of the team. There was a study conducted about the David Beckham effect and how he affected their team. At the time of the signing, he broke the salary cap, but the MLS officials allowed it because they knew it would draw attention to their league. This change in the salary cap caused more players from Europe to come over, like Sebastian Giovinco and Francesco Valeri. He was the start that future players would follow in his footsteps on becoming highly rated MLS players. Has played all over Europe for some of the top clubs like Barcelona and PSG, but his move to the MLS has been huge for the fan growth. LA Galaxy was struggling in 2017, but he has brought the club 5 places up in the 2018 season. Ibrahimovic moved to the LA Galaxy, where he brought the crowds with him. 27,000 was the number of fans in attendance as Ibrahimovic scored 2 goals against LAFC to win the first game he played for the club. Ever since his signing, Ibrahimovic has brought success to the team as well as fans to the stadium, with 22,000 being the 2017 average and 24,000 being the 2018 average. His shirt sales were a big part of the club revenue, gaining over $76 million in sales. Wayne Rooney played in the English Premier League for Everton and Manchester United from age 16 to 32. Signing for DC United in the summer of 2018, he provided a huge boost to the team and the fans came with him. The previous season, the average attendance had been 17,600, but the attendance of Wayne Rooney has shot the attendance numbers up to 20,000. Wayne Rooney has also contributed to the shirt sales of the club, being the fourth highest selling shirt in the MLS this year. Wayne Rooney has contributed on the field as well as helping DC United move from 11th place in the conference last year to 4th place this year. His signing for the club is evidence of a growth on and off the field, showing how European signings help the club.
I think, soccer is growing in the country all the time, and I think Atlanta United helps with that. I think that's a big reason that, there's so much more interest in soccer at the moment, especially with the youth, because they're able to go see the game, which is different than in the past. They weren't able to see the game at such a high level in the past. So now there's a clear motivation for players that there's a future in soccer.
If the country has decided to compete at the highest level, to win a World Cup, the only way to do it is on the youth levels, investing the resources, investing the education for the parents, for the coaches, so the country can really compete at the highest level.
The youth soccer system in America is at a crossroads right now. Up until age 15, there are many opportunities for kids to play soccer, whether that be recreational or travel. But after age 15, there's a huge drop-off of players that move to other sports like football or lacrosse.
A lot of the more talented players now are choosing, where they have the pathway now to go straight into the MLS or straight into the USL, whereas before that, you rarely saw that. It was almost the same path from every kid. They would play club, college, then go pro. But a lot of kids now, if they don't make it pro in the US, by the time they're 18, 19, they'll go pro in Europe and then try and come back, because there's so many countries that have opportunities to play.
New youth academies for these players are being formed, like Charlotte Rapids, who is founded for feeding teams like the Colorado Rapids, but there is not enough awareness of these programs to cause kids to want to be in them. The loss of progress draws many kids away, and the only way for kids in America to be a part of the game is to go on to countries like Germany, who accept tons of youth players. Americans like Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie have thrived in Germany through the soccer resources that they have been able to offer them. The question is, why can't America produce the same thing as the other countries with amazing players at age 22 instead of the average age of 28 that the US has? Increased growth of the youth system must be achieved in order for growth in the MLS.
Clubs bring in players with the goal of getting them good enough to play for the first team or to move on to other clubs to make money off of them. And that's kind of the same model that a lot of the MLS clubs are following. So in that terms, the clubs are bringing in players and really focusing solely on player development.
Find a way that the kids enjoy the game. If they don't enjoy the game, they're just going to look for something different. So that's the key. And then create an environment where they can grow, where they can solve problems, where they can develop. But the factor of enjoyment and having freedom to express their themselves is key, because at the end of the day, this is a game. So if you don't enjoy the game, then you're gonna look for different options as a kid, So that's the atmosphere that we try to create here.
No team is more evident of how being a new club can benefit your attendance numbers. In 2018, Atlanta United had the highest average attendance of the league with 53,000. The closest team to this number was Seattle, which was 13,000 behind Atlanta's amazing numbers. While the attendance is impressive, the growth is bigger than the year before, as Atlanta had an attendance of 48,200 in 2017, which shows a growth of about 5,000, with most MLS teams only growing about 1,000 every year.
Actually, with the movement of Atlanta United, that has created a completely different vibe to the rest of the country. Maybe there's other cities that also have a similar atmosphere. Maybe Portland and Seattle and Toronto maybe have that kind of buy. But I think what is happening here is unique. The engagement of the entire city.
Los Angeles FC had its first year in the competition this MLS season, winning 16 games out of the 34 and placing third in their conference. LAFC's first game came against the Seattle Sounders, where they won by 1 goal at home, where the attendance was 22,000. Their attendance has stayed at around this mark, ending the season with 22,100 as the average home attendance. LAFC has a bright future ahead of them with players like Carlos Vela and João Moutinho that help sell the shirts and bring in fans. The future of these two teams are endless with their new facilities and popularity, and if they build on, it may be one day these teams will be more watched than any football game.
I mean, popularity-wise, it's killing it. Just especially in this area, it's hard to argue that, with selling out Mercedes-Benz and 70,000. And yeah, I think the MLS is in a really good spot. I remember when I was growing up and going to games and MLS games, and there being 10, 12,000 people there. And now everybody's averaging, well above that. So, I think it's popularity-wise, especially the level's getting a lot better. It's harder to get into the MLS.
Most people think of two main leagues when it comes to America, the NFL and MLB. From the outside, these sports seem to dominate attendance and television coverage, but MLS is growing while these sports are actually dying. The MLB has been on decline for a while now, with attendance decreasing every year. 8.6% was a decrease from last year. The NFL is not doing much better, with their numbers also declining in 2017 in terms of television standards. NBC averaged 18.2 million viewers for its set of games, the package's lowest figure since 2008, when it averaged 16.6 million viewers. There is a difference in the number of viewers, though, without a doubt. 10 million people tuned into Thursday Night Football in 2017, but the average MLS game was only about 286,000. While this may make the MLS seem unimportant and irrelevant, the year before, Thursday Night Football was at 12 million people, showing a 2 million decrease in watching. However, the MLS television audience increased 4% from 2016 to 2017.
I'm good with that. England. Well, I think it certainly competes. I don't know if it was this season or last season, but there's an Atlanta United game. I don't know if it was on ESPN or Fox Sports 1, but I think it had more viewership than a Chelsea game or something of that sort. So I don't even think if it's in question. I think there is certainly we're competing or even surpassing the levels that we see over in Europe.
I don't know. It's changing. We'll see. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I think a big part of it's how the U.S. national team does. Hopefully they just signed the new coach, so hopefully the U.S. gets on track here. But I think I think promotion relegation's in the future, and I think that's gonna end up driving the popularity up. But I see it just keep growing and growing. I think all the MLS teams are going towards that academy model, like it is in Europe. So I think the level's going to keep getting better. You're going to get more homegrown players, which is always good for attendance and for spectators and all that. So I think it's in a good spot, and I think it's just going to keep growing in this country for sure.
I mean, this country has all the potential to have the biggest league in the world for the size of the country, the resources, the financial resources, but there's a breakdown on the cultural aspect of the game, and on the youth there's also a breakdown. There's too focused on the business aspect, and there's still needs to be a lot of improvement on the development of the player, on the education to the parents, on the education, but having better level of coaching.
I think if teams start really looking at how Atlanta United took on the approach of establishing a team, not buying a bunch of 33-year-olds who their legs are behind them, really investing in youth, then with that, then you for sure are going to see this continuous rise. because you're going to get some future big stars to come to the U.S. and I'll for sure watch them. So.
What this all comes back to is what the MLS needs to do to stay relevant. The MLS needs a contributed emphasis on signing players from outside countries, while also putting new emphasis on the abilities of younger players that can be the stars of the MLS to establish it as a major league. There needs to be a continuous growth of new clubs that can create more space for players to join teams.